Well, it all started with my father, and he used to race cars in the 60s.
Hello, Bonnie.
And yes, I used to be dragged along over to Silverstone at about the age of 6 and 7, and I used to go and watch him race this old Formula One car that he had, which was great. And I think with the noise and the smells, it sort of just, it was just great. It was great fun. It was just used to go with my mum and the families, my sisters and everything. So it was great.
And when you say old Formula One cars, what sort of vintage?
They were 1950s, 1960s, so they were probably about 10 years old. And then they had all these amateurs just buying these cars and then racing them because they had no value at the time. They were, I mean, to be fair, my father bought his in about 3 or 4 boxes, and he built it up into this car. And then they found out that it actually belonged to Mike Hawthorne, who obviously was the world champion. And it was one of the cars that he actually did race. But unfortunately, many years ago when he sold it, he didn't know that. So, yes, it could have been worth quite a few pennies, but not to know anyway. So
it might still be out there somewhere.
Yes, oh yeah, definitely. There is somebody out there racing it at this moment in time. And they still race these cars, which is amazing because, you know, the value of them has gone up so much. But people go out there and, they race them properly as well.
So what sort of attitude to racing did he have? Was he competitive or?
No. He was generally midfield-ish, but he went there for the parties and the drinks and the food afterwards. So they all used to get together. And I think he liked the social side of it so much. And because of all that, I think it just, as the years went on, I just grew to love motorsport and cars and the noises and everything, and thought, when I got old enough, I thought, we'll give it a go. Yeah.
So just describe to me, for a 6-7-year-old, standing in the pit lane at Silverstone, watching it going on, what was that like?
Oh, it's fantastic, because those days you could just stand in the pits, you know, even you know, at 6 years old, they didn't stop you standing in the pits. You know, you could be that far away from the cars going past you, and I think the noises and you don't realise how quick they are until you're literally there and you see them going past. You watch them on telly, you think, you know, anyone can do that. But no, it's great. It was good.
So what sort of speeds were they doing?
Probably about those cars do about 150, 160, you know, single-seaters. So, yeah, they were quick. They were quick for their time.
And absolutely no safety features?
Not even safety belts. No safety belts, no roll cages. But they believed that if you were going to have an accident, it was best to leave the car, rather than be stuck in the car with a safety belt. So their thoughts were, if something happened, you would just get thrown out and you've got more of a chance of surviving. But funny days, crikey.
Did you ever see any bad accidents in those days?
I remember my dad having a crash at Woodcote at Silverstone, and all I remember about that is when they towed the car in, my mum absolutely going mad at him for... how are we going to afford to fix this? And in front of all the other competitors, and he's like, I think he was horrified by the crash. And then actually, with my mum shouting at him, was even worse. As he,
so she was more worried about the car.
Oh yeah, don't worry about that. No, yes, definitely, yeah, terrible. But obviously, because he had a garage, it was great because we could do all the repairs and get the cars ready to race. And when I got to 20. I started racing. He carried on racing until he was in his 80s.
So that was in the days when you had like a leather helmet?
Yes, yeah. He's still got it. Yeah.
And the goggles?
Yeah, still got the goggles. Yeah, the old Spitfire goggles or whatever. Yeah.
So that got you into the whole sort of atmosphere around racing. How did you actually start yourself?
I think we went to a racing school. I did a day at the racing school, and then we just raced in a series of Mark II Jags, which was great because they didn't handle. They skidded everywhere. They weren't particularly quick, but it was a great insight, and just started from there, and then gradually got faster and faster cars while working in the garage and getting them repaired. So if anything went wrong, it was great that we had it.
And all single-seaters, were they?
No, I never did single-seaters. I thought they were too dangerous. So
because?
If you're in a single-seater and a tyre hits a tyre, it will flip the car. Whereas at least if you're in a sports car, if you just bang side to side, it's fine. You know, not a lot of damage is going to happen. You're not going to flip.
And you'd seen the grief your mum had given you.
Yes, yeah, I did not want that. Yes, no, definitely not. Yeah.
So as you went up through the ranks, tell me how that progressed.
Well, we only did it as a hobby. And when we first started, we were probably slower than my dad when I started. But as time got on, I got quicker and he got slower. I think possibly he got slower than I got quicker. And then we just ended up, I think it was in about 2000, we got this TVR Griffith, which was a proper sports race car. And we raced that for 10 years or so, which was the proper V8 engine and made glorious noise with flames out the back. And it was lovely. It was great. So that was the favourite times. And then we got an old, after the TVR Griffith, we got a Corvette Stingray, a 1965. They're both 1965 cars, which is beautiful.
So as well as you getting more capable, the cars themselves got more and more powerful and potentially faster.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's so true. I mean, the TVR Griffith, I think when we first had it, probably didn't finish a race for a year. But once it got developed, we would be in the top 3 nearly every time and won, I think, 25 races in it or something.
What sort of circuits?
All over. So any UK circuit from Silverstone to Brands to Donington, and then abroad, Imola, France, Dijon, the Nürburgring in Germany, Spa. Did Spa so many, nearly twice every year. So that was great fun.
And treading in the footsteps of greats, because those are all big Grand Prix circuits.
Yes, absolutely. Well, especially Imola, because it was after Ayrton Senna died, and Ratzenberg, I think, was also died there the year before we went there. So when you think about things like that and the history of the place, especially Italy, it was fantastic. Yeah, really good times.
They're big fans, aren't they?
Yeah, the Tifosi, yes. But we used to go with our mechanic, with my dad and me, and we used to have just such a laugh. It was really good fun.
So what sort of speeds were you doing on those circuits?
The TVR would do about 170 on the straight, and the Corvette probably did about 150 because it was heavier, bigger engine but heavier. Typical American car, just massive, everything.
What stories does this book tell us?
This started when I first started with this TVR car, which is the orange car here. And this one starts in 2002. And all it is just pictures and race results. This one here was a win. And that was Silverstone. Just pictures and loads of another first, a fourth, a first, 19th. So it just varied and loads of race results. Bailey's Brands Hatch Thriller. Yeah. So it's all just bits that I kept, and just to remind me, I think, Bailey Shines in the Rain, and a Falcon that we used to race. We used this car in the 6 hours race at Spa, where there was 3 drivers, and we won our class in that with about 70 odd cars in. So I think we finished 15th, something like that, which was first in class for the saloon cars. And so just loads of photos. And
that's a beast, that one.
So that's a Ford Falcon 1965, and magazines, Soggy Silverstone, and other pictures. And I loved straight circuits. They were fantastic because we had so much power. So you go past everyone, and then you get to the corners, and then all these little cars, Lotuses and things like that, would come past you. And you think, wait to the straight, get going again, catch them up, overtake them, and it just went on. But it was, I quite like the idea of having the power so that we could overtake them. But obviously with the power and the weight, you lost agility, I suppose.
So they're a bit of a dog in the chicanes and...
Oh, yes, yeah, and we just get stuck behind them and then just wait till it was straight. It was good fun, yeah.
And favourite circuit?
Spa and the Brands Grand Prix circuit. I always liked that. The 2 quick circuits, yeah.
And best achievement in racing days?
I think at Alton Park, when we won the Gold Cup, which was a big thing at the time. And Sterling Moss presented us with a trophy, and we beat this other American car. And he just said to us, I just love the noise as you used to go past the straights. He said, that was fantastic. So that's a great memory to think that Sterling Moss actually appreciated us. So that was great.
There's a photo somewhere.
There is a photo somewhere, and I've got no idea. I'd love to find it, of him giving us the trophy that I won that day. So, but never mind. Yes.
And just tell me the story behind that one on the far end of the counter there.
This was how the car ended up, unfortunately, and that was at Dijon. I can't remember the year. I think it was 2007, 2008, where the brakes failed completely. So, and it's unfortunately along one of the longest straights of any circuit. So the car was doing about 170, and flat out. And when we went to push the brakes, there was nothing at all, nothing. And unfortunately, just hit the wall and bounced over the wall, and landed upside down on fire. So that was the end of that car, and I stopped racing for about 6 months after that.
Tell me what was going through your mind when that was going on.
This is going to hurt, and but it wasn't. There were some other words, and but it. I can't remember any of it actually, so which is probably quite a good thing. So I just remember thinking that, and then I stayed in France for a couple of weeks after it. So,
did you have any injuries?
Yes, I did. Cracked a couple of vertebrae. I had some internal things that weren't very good, and obviously I was knocked out as well. So, but apart from that, it was fun.
And when you look at that picture now, is there a sense of, oh my word?
There's a sense of how did I get out, because as it was upside down, there was no space to get out, and I don't know how I got out. But I think self-preservation literally took over, and I remember waking up and it had all onboard plumbing system, fire extinguisher. So I remember waking up, pulling that, and the next thing I know, I was in a helicopter. So yeah. Yes, so fortunately, self-preservation, there is something in that, definitely, yeah.
Was that your worst crash?
Oh, definitely, definitely. But after that, having decided not to do it for about 6 months, I then bought a 1965 Corvette race car, which was great fun. And but we didn't win in that car. We just, I think you just realise that it's fun and you don't need to be at the front. And that's what we did with that car. We had it for about 5-6 years, and then I retired.
The wisdom of age.
if only, yes, yeah, very true.
And then when you moved on from racing, you still carried on getting V8s for road cars?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yes, I'm afraid it's sort of ingrained. And I just went and bought a Mustang that needed a lot of work to be done on it when we had the garage. And I bought that and just used it as a road car. We went on trips down to Le Mans and Spa in it, and just with friends and things, and Lisa. So that was great. Unfortunately, I had to sell it when I sold the garage. And then, as you know, just recently, a couple of months ago, bought another Mustang. So I'm hoping to hold on to this one for a few years, but it needs a little bit of work.
So the previous one you mentioned, was that the orange one?
No, I had a black one, a 1965 fastback Mustang, which was the one like Bullet, although his was later. But it was a beautiful looking car. And yes, that was, the orange one was just a modern car that I didn't think was very suited for Kings Newton, so it disappeared and got replaced, yes, by a 4x4.
Yes. Yeah, more Kings Newton.
It is Kings Newton, isn't it? Yes, yeah.
And you mentioned Le Mans. You never raced there, did you? But you.
No. Yes, used to go. Yes, been as a pit crew for my friends that used to race there, and that was great fun. And staying awake all night, and just really enjoyable times, and meet a lot of friends. And people that you meet there, they help. Everybody helps you when you go to any of these events. You know, if your car's not working, they'll find you a part to get you back out again. And it was very good, very good.
Tell me about the Mustang, because it's got like an iconic status, hasn't it, the Mustang?
Oh, I think, yes. I think, obviously, when it was released in 64, the original Mustang, and the Americans just went mad for them, because instead of just buying a car now, which doesn't have many options, it might have aircon or sat-nav or something like that. In those days, everything was an option, from seat belts to fuel gauges to radios to wheels. You could make it so individual. And I think that's why the Americans loved them at the time, because you could sell it to your wife or you could sell it to the husband, because they could both have completely different cars almost. They sold so many. And the good thing for over here, it's one of the smallest American cars. So for these lanes, it's no bigger than driving, well, it's probably smaller than your Mondeo. So, there's no problem driving them on the lanes around here, apart from being left-hand drive.
And they got a boost from popular culture as well, didn't they? Because they're in the movies.
Oh, in so many films, weren't they? And obviously the Bullet one was just, that made it. And even today, the new Mustangs, they're still selling them as Bullet Mustangs, the same colour. Silly little things like they'll have the pull balls as the gear sticks. So, even from the 1967 Mustang that Steve McQueen had, they're still putting that on the new ones. So it's so much history to it. It's great.
And so tell me the plan for the new Mustang, the black one.
Well, I've got it started. I've got it running. Didn't quite make it to George Limpton about a month ago. So broke down in the lanes. So that was fun, trying to get people to come past us. But got it started, got the engine fixed, done some work on that. And last week got the brakes fixed, which is always quite handy. So it's gradually getting there. So the bodywork's not too bad, but we've got some welding to do, and just gradually get it up to running, and then just take it to shows, take it to the pub. Obviously not the Grove, it's a bit too close. But just take it out on Sundays and take it for drives. And Lisa likes it, which is great. So body sits in there as well, in the back seat. So we need an interior for it, probably some wheels, and there's lots of things, but where do you stop spending money? At the moment, it doesn't have a petrol tank, because we're putting a petrol tank in it because that leaked, which I didn't realise until I parked it outside somebody's house. So, yes, all little things that need to be done to it, but hopefully get it up and running and just use it as a almost a daily driver.
Bit of a labour of love then.
A labour of love, yes. And I keep saying it's an investment. So if I spend any money on it, it's an investment. Yeah.
But the only way it's an investment if you then sell it.
Yes, and I don't plan to do that. But it's just an excuse to have it as an investment. That's what I've told Lisa.